Hello everybody and welcome to yet another Stardew Valley guide. As you may or may not know, I have made a guide for every single season for your first year, working towards a perfectionist ending. However, as you can imagine, these guides go really in depth and it's a lot of information, especially if you're a beginner player. And so I got a few requests to make a sort of checklist. And so that's exactly what I did. And looking at the checklist just on the screen right now, I know it looks like a lot, but you don't have to worry about everything at once. You can worry about your season, and I made an extra section called Anytime that you can get all in winter if you want. The idea is that you prioritize whatever's in your season checklist and then move on to anytime things and whittle away at them throughout the year. I should also mention that this checklist has a focus specifically on bundle completion, not necessarily perfection ending, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem because perfection ending can be worked towards in year 2 and year 3, so don't worry about that for now. Let's start up here in spring. I am going to explain everything because this is still a guide and you might be confused as to why something's on here and maybe something else isn't, and I'll hopefully give you the answer by the end of the video. So starting with spring, at the beginning of every season, I have the money crop at the top. Money is a very important part of completing the bundles because you need a lot of money to do things like, for instance, build the kitchen, upgrade your tools. So obviously that's a focus. The money crop for spring is potatoes, which just overall give you the highest gold per day. Or, once you hit spring 13th, you have access to strawberries, which are better than potatoes in almost every way. Now I should mention that since this is your first season and you're probably starting from a new file, if you want to level up your farming stat a bit more, you can use kale. That gives you the highest experience gain per day of growing the crop. So you can start off with that if you want to get a strong start for your farming stat. Moving on to what you need to farm and forage for the bundles, you have parsnips, potatoes, cauliflower, and green beans for your spring crop bundle. And then for the foraging bundle, you have dandelions, leeks, horseradish, and daffodils. None of this should be too hard. All the seeds are sold in the shop, and all of the foraging items are fairly common. The leeks are probably the most rare out of the bunch. Just donate them once you have access to them and you're good. You also need to make sure that you get 5 golden parsnips and put them in your quality crop bundle, because it is by far the cheapest option in the quality crop bundle. I do not want you to have to make 5 golden quality pumpkins and give them all away. Before I talk about the fishing, I do want to mention that fish that are caught in any season at any time are in the anytime section. Otherwise, if they're available in spring and fall, for instance, they will be in the spring section because that's the first season that they appear. But note that almost all of these fish can be caught in a later season. Starting with catfish for the river fish bundle, they need to be caught in the rain in rivers or the secret woods at 6 a.m. to midnight. Next up, the eel is found in the ocean 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. only when raining. After that, sardines can be found in the ocean 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. in spring, fall, and winter, so there's no rush on these ones. The shad can be found in rivers from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m. only when raining, and the sunfish can be found in the river 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. only during sunny weather. After those, I have an other section because these are things that I think should be done, not necessarily required to be done specifically in spring, but you're setting up a good timeline for yourself if you do get them done. First of all, there's 2 tool upgrades that I would recommend, the copper pickaxe and the copper axe. The reason I don't recommend any of the others, or at least they're lower priority than these, they're not required for any of the items in the bundles. The pickaxe upgrades aren't technically required, but it's going to make your life a ton easier. Whereas something like the hoe or the watering can is just simply completely convenience. And then the copper axe is absolutely required unless you're on the forest farm because you're going to need a steel axe by the end of summer to get a fiddlehead fern. So we're setting up for that. I would also recommend having a barn and a coop by the end of the season, obviously because there's a lot of animal items that you're going to need for bundles. Next up, in the summer section, your money crop this season is going to be blueberries. Unless you've already unlocked the desert, which you probably won't by the end of summer, but if you do, starfruit are by far the best crop in the game, really. Otherwise, you can stick to blueberries. For your summer crops bundle, you're going to need 1 hot pepper, 1 melon, 1 tomato, and 1 blueberry. And then for the foraging bundle, you're going to need 1 grape, a spiceberry, a sweet pea, And I do have the fiddlehead fern here, even though it's not for the summer foraging bundle, it is for one of the bulletin board bundles, and it's, for the most part, only obtainable in summer. Now I know some people may ask, actually, it should technically be in any time because you can get them in the skull caverns. If there is a method of getting an item that is by far the easiest, and the other method is very, very difficult, such as happening upon a prehistoric floor in the skull cavern compared to just going into the secret woods, I'm only going to count it for the secret woods. And that's what we're doing with the fiddlehead fern here. And I'm gonna skip around here a bit. We're gonna go down to the steel axe down in the other section, which is required to enter the secret woods to obtain the fiddlehead fern. After that, there's actually 3 other crops that you need to get in summer that are for bundles that aren't the summer crops bundle: the sunflower, the poppy, and 10 wheat for bulletin board bundles. And on top of that, you have 5 golden melons for the quality crop bundle. Now for fishing in the summer. The pufferfish is one of the... It's in the ocean 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. only during sunny weather. The red snapper is in the ocean 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. only when raining. The sturgeon's in the mountain lake 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I'll also say, even though I'm not covering year 2 content, if you want to set up for something that happens in year 2, I won't spoil it, you might want to put one of these sturgeon into a fish pond. Tilapia can be found in the ocean 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., and tuna can also be found in the ocean 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then in the other section, once again, upgrading your pickaxe at least once a season is going to set you up really nicely for any mining-related activities, and the steel axe is required for the fiddlehead fern in the secret woods. Notice, I have 2 saplings here. These are the saplings of the only fruits that are absolutely required for any bundles. All the other fruits are in optional bundles, and honestly, you can get away with not needing them. Now, of course, I will say that you can have the fruit bat cave and might be able to get away with not having the pomegranate tree, but you're going to want the apple tree because you want 3 apples eventually in fall, and they're a very rare drop in the fruit bat cave. Also, something to mention, I made this guide assuming you weren't going to pick either the mushroom or the fruit bat cave because I want to have the option available there no matter what. Personally, in my opinion, it's much better to go with the fruit bat cave, but you may disagree, and that's fine. You're going to want to plant these 2 saplings sometime during summer and plant the apple one at least 4 days before the end of summer. And then once again, I would recommend upgrading to the big barn and the big coop because you will need animals from the big variants of these. Moving on to fall, the money crop is just cranberries. It's just outright better than everything else you can plant in fall, so do cranberries. For the fall farming bundle, you'll want 1 pumpkin, 1 yam, 1 corn, which can also be gotten in summer, and 1 eggplant. Then for foraging, a common mushroom, a hazelnut, a wild plum, and a blackberry. And once again, to finish off your quality crop bundle, you'll want 5 gold star corn. Again, I don't recommend going for the gold star pumpkins because the seeds cost much more and they're just worth much more to sell rather than the corn. For fishing, there's only 2 fish that first appear in fall for the bundles. The first being tiger trout, found in rivers, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., and the walleye, found in rivers, lakes, and the forest pond, 12 p.m. to 2 a.m., only when raining. Now this is where the other section gets a little bit interesting. Once again, as always, I recommend upgrading your pickaxe as you go deeper into the mines because it'll make your life a lot easier. You will need the deluxe barn. I'd recommend sometime in the first 10 days of fall. This is because you need to get an adult pig by the end of fall because once winter comes, the pig does not produce truffles. So I've also put the truffle here in the other section because you can technically get it in summer, but it's very likely that you're going to be getting it in fall. Otherwise, you're waiting until spring to get that truffle. When you buy your pig, you need to account for 10 days before it matures into an adult, where you'll finally start producing truffles. And then this is the season where your pomegranate and apple tree will be grown, or maybe you just got really lucky with the fruit bat cave. Pick 1 pomegranate for the bulletin board bundles and 3 apples for the bulletin board bundles. And finally, winter. Now, even though I'm not going too in-depth, you should have finished all of your farming bundles. The spring, summer, fall crop bundles, and the quality crop bundle. And I guess at this point also, let's skip into any time. The animal bundle. So even though there are many choices for the animal bundle, I've chosen the 5 items that I think are the easiest to grab. First of all, the 2 eggs, they're the easiest. You just get a chicken, it's the cheapest thing you can get. Then a cow for the milk, a duck for the duck egg, which you're going to need anyway because the duck feather is required for a bulletin board bundle. And then I've given a slash here for wool and or goat milk. It's possible to get wool without needing a sheep. And also, if you get a rabbit early enough, it also gives you wool, and a rabbit's foot is required anyway, so probably wool, but you have a choice here. Anyway, completing those 5 bundles will give you the greenhouse, which is just about required if you want to get the year 1 bundle completion for the red cabbage. But before that, if you do have the greenhouse, I recommend just filling it with starfruit and or ancient fruits, which you might have at this point. Ancient fruits are going to take a lot longer to build up because you can only get them by putting crops in the seed makers or by getting very, very lucky and finding one from a drop of an enemy. Otherwise, just fill it with starfruit and it'll be the best money you can get for winter. And for forever, basically. For your foraging bundle, you have crystal fruit, snow yams, winter roots, and crocuses. Croci? Sure. And then I have one extra one here, the nautilus shell, which is only available on the beach in winter, needed for one of the bulletin board bundles. And I have put the red cabbage here in winter, despite it being a summer crop, because the way you get the cabbage seed is either by slaying a serpent or mummy in the skull cavern, which I believe it's a 0.2% drop from either of those enemies, or, most likely, from the traveling cart anytime before winter starts. If you checked guaranteed year 1 completable, this guarantees that at some point the traveling cart will be holding a red cabbage seed. Always check the traveling cart. And once you do get the seed, plant it in your greenhouse. Or I guess if you get it in spring or summer, plant it outside in summer, but most likely in the greenhouse for the red cabbage. There are no new fish required for bundles in winter. There are actually quite a few new fish in winter, but none are required for bundles. And then, as always, I recommend getting the iridium pickaxe. Skull Cavern just about requires it. And then I also have the deluxe coop. You can get this a little later than the barn because in the deluxe coop, you're going to need a rabbit. Luckily, they can still produce a rabbit's foot in winter. Now, once again, I do recommend allocating a little bit of time here because your rabbit needs to grow, and then it's one of the rarest drops from an animal. So you might be waiting a while even after it's fully grown. And that does it for the seasonals. Now let's dip into anytime. Mining is pretty self-explanatory. All of these items are very common if you're going through the mines, but just to explain, you'll get copper from the first section of the mine, iron from the second, and gold from the lava caverns. Frozen tears are found in the frozen caverns. Earth crystals can be found anywhere. Quartz can be found anywhere. Frozen geodes are found in the frozen caves. Aquamarine can be found in the frozen caves and onward, and fire quartz are found in the lava caverns and onward. Now for the adventures bundle, I do recommend the 10 bat wings and the solar essence because 99 slime is a lot of slime, and void essence is just from a later enemy, so there's no reason to wait for that. You'll probably slay 10 bats while going through, you'll have 10 bat wings, and then a solar essence you can get from a ghost, squid kid, or metalhead, which are all fairly common enemies in the later parts of the mines. You'll also notice the mushrooms here. It's not that hard to find a mushroom floor in the caverns, and even if you don't find a mushroom floor, these two can still spawn on regular floors. If you didn't choose the mushroom cave, you'll be finding it through mining. Let's move down to the crab pot bundle. This one's pretty self-explanatory. I put the 5 easiest. Cockles, mussels, oysters, and clams can all be found just from beach foraging, so you don't even need to make a crab pot. But the last item will have to come from a crab pot. And I put the periwinkle there. It's kind of a placeholder. Just use whatever you get first from the crab pot that can't be foraged, and you're good. You're done. In the fishing section, not all of these fish are in the fishing bundles. The chub specifically is for one of the bulletin board bundles, but let's go over them in order. Again, just to reiterate, any of these fish can be caught in any season. First of all, we have the bream, which can be found in rivers 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. The largemouth bass can be found in the mountain lake 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. The bullhead can also be found in the mountain lake at any time. The chub is for the field research bundle, and it can be found in the mountain lake and the river anytime, any season. On the bottom row, we have 3 special bundle fish, starting with the ghost fish, which is found in the pond on the mines floor 20 and 60 at any time in any season. And if you're lucky, it can be dropped by a ghost, but it's easier to just fish it. Just fish it. The sandfish can be found in the pond at the desert, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., and the wood skip can be found in the secret woods, or if you chose the forest farm, there, anytime, any season. You have a lot of options for the exotic foraging bundles. I've chosen the 5 simplest once again, but do note that you will need maple syrup and oak resin anyway for the bulletin board bundles. Speaking of which, let's start with those. Oak resin, maple syrup, and pine tar can each be found by tapping their respective tree. I chose to forego including any of the mushrooms here because I think a red mushroom or purple mushroom would be better used for your bulletin board bundles. The morel is just not commonly found. Cave carrots you're just about guaranteed to come across when you're going through the mines, so use one for the exotic foraging bundle. And then I put a coconut here. It can be a coconut or a cactus fruit because you're going to get both of them from the desert. Just use whatever you want. Moving on to the construction bundle, this one's easy. Just chop down a lot of trees, get 198 wood, because you need to donate 99 wood twice for some reason. Destroy rocks, get 99 stone, and destroy stumps with your copper or better axe for hardwood. You only need 10 pieces for that. We already talked about animals. You can get honey as long as you've unlocked the bee house recipe. Just make a bee house, you will get honey. For jelly, just put any fruit into a preserves jar and you'll get jelly. For cheese, you should be getting milk for the animal bundle anyway, so just put your milk into a cheese press and you'll get cheese. Cloth is really easy to get if you just recycle some soggy newspaper. It might take a few tries, but it's pretty common. And I put the apple and the pomegranate here because you need them anyway for bulletin board bundles. But if you have any other fruits, feel free to insert them here because all of the tree fruits are in the artisan bundle. So choose one and put it in and you win. Now over here, I have a section called bulletin board. There's a lot of random things that are required from the bulletin board bundles. And if I could not find anywhere else to put them, I just put them here. First, we have 2 cooked items that we need. First of all, you're going to need to unlock the kitchen, which costs a good amount of money and some materials for Robin. Build your kitchen, and then you're going to be able to make maki rolls, which you buy the recipe from Gus, and eggs you start out with. They're both really easy to make. For the maki roll, you just need any fish, seaweed, which I imagine you probably have from fishing, and rice, which you could just buy from the store. For the fried egg, well, I think you can guess what the ingredients are for that. Then we have 10 bundles of hay, which can just be bought from Maru. The wine is made from putting any fruit in a keg. It'll take 7 days, so account for that. And sea urchins can be found whenever you want after you've given 300 wood to build the bridge on the beach. And then I just shove the vault bundles down below that. You just pay money for them. It's pretty self-explanatory. And that should set you up for your first year. I couldn't figure out how to make I don't know, maybe like a website that you could go to and just click on things to check them off. I couldn't really figure out how to do that. Either you can keep a mental note, write them down yourself, or print this image, which I will put it in the description so you can get the image on its own. Print the image and you can mark it out on your own and use that. Oh, okay, so I already recorded the script. This is coming to you from like a week in the future. I did think of another way that you could do it. Download the image and then open it up on Pixlr, which is a Photoshop equivalent, but you open it up on your web browser and just use the brush tool to mark out whatever you've gotten. Save the image, pull it back up when you want to use it again, and you don't need to print anything out. That's pixlr.com. This isn't a sponsorship or anything. I just genuinely used to use this and I really like the tool. Also, I'm like 98% sure that I didn't miss anything important. I absolutely hit everything in the bundles, but there might have been like some random other thing that you need to account for. Of course, it's also a possibility that I just omitted it because I wanted this to be as simple as possible, because that's the reason I made the checklist in the first place. Anyway, hope this helps. I'll see you all in the next video, and goodbye.